States have been setting different standards for what students should know and be able to do at each grade level. That's making it too hard to know if our kids are really doing well enough overall, and if they can really compete for a job someday. What we really need are clear goals. That's where the Common Core state standards come in. They're like a total sea change in education. Consistent, strong, clear benchmarks for English language arts and math.
If you ask some people, they'll tell you America is getting dumber every single day. And at the moment, there are numerous calls to stop why and how it's happening. But the battle against Common Core is not easy, nor is it shared by everyone. But the fact remains, Common Core is certainly not very common. It is at the core of what might be so very wrong with education in America, and plenty of people demand to be heard that this concept has absolutely no common sense whatsoever. Let's welcome to MidPoint. He is the Executive Director of Choice Media, a website designed as the online hub for education news. Veteran documentary filmmaker Bob Bowdon joins us today. Bob, thanks so much for being here.
Great to be here. Thanks, Ed.
Bob, I'm sure you just heard the commercial that we heard coming in. That's pushing Common Core.
It's so compelling. Yes, I'm ready to go vote for Common Core tomorrow.
Here is also a quote, if you will, from Chris Minich, who is the Executive Director of Council of Chief State School Officers. And I quote, "The Common Core state standards began with the idea that math in Massachusetts is not any different from math in Maryland, and now politics are involved," unquote, basically pointing out that it works, it should stay, and people such as Bob Bowdon, who are critics, have no idea what they're talking about. Your turn, Bob.
Well, gee, I know some other people who might agree with that assessment, by the way, but let's just start with the math standards, where Algebra 2 is the highest level of math in Common Core, all right? And when teachers begin to be evaluated by tests that kids get that are Common Core aligned, as they say, the question will soon become, what incentive is there to teach math beyond that? I mean, when I was in high school, I took calculus. Lots of students take pre-calculus, or they take trigonometry, courses that are beyond Algebra 2. And so that's the kind of concern people have. I should say, too, that there are some things Common Core isn't responsible for, meaning every textbook that just places Common Core aligned on the front cover could be designed by anybody, and just because it has a crazy or wacky interpretation of U.S. history in that textbook doesn't mean that that interpretation is in Common Core. So the Common Core defenders are right to point that out, that not every textbook that says Common Core aligned was written by someone connected with the Common Core. But that said, we're at a moment right now in American education where, with school choice proliferating, charter schools, voucher programs, tax credit scholarships, education savings accounts, homeschooling expanding at double-digit rates, what really we're finding is autonomy works best because different kids need different kinds of schools and different kinds of instruction.
Well, hey, so let me just stop you there for a second. Let me stop you there for 1 second, Bob, because there are those people who would say, wait a minute, the kids don't need anything different in different places. They need to get a solid, consistent, clear level of education across the board, and that's what will make us smarter. So where are they wrong in this?
They're wrong because, as I was saying, different kids need and deserve and flourish best under different kinds of educational atmosphere and different kinds of curricula. Wouldn't you want, in your community, wherever you live, or wherever a listener or viewer of this program is right now, a great STEM school for science and math students who are moving on to college in that realm that might be separate from a great vocational school, right? For kids who are going to be having great careers in vocational skill areas. Wouldn't it make sense also maybe to have a dramatic arts school for kids who are more interested in creative study, or a great school for special needs kids who shouldn't be thrown away and discarded? They will have lives, they will have careers, and they should be taught too. And so you have to say, look, does it make sense to use one standard for all of these different kinds of schools and different kinds of kids? More and more Americans are saying no.
About 60 seconds I have left before we take a break. Answer this one for me too, please, because those who are proponents would say, wait a minute, 45 states and the District of Columbia have adopted Common Core state standards. If it's so wrong, why is it being used by so many places and so many states said, let's go with it?
Billions of dollars of federal money was tied into buying off those states, if you will. Also, a lot of private foundation money, like the Gates Foundation, has thrown many millions around to try to promote this cause. You also have to point out how many states have pulled out of Common Core. Indiana was a Common Core state and then later turned around to reject it. Oklahoma, Common Core state. First, they rejected the Common Core tests or assessments. Now they've pulled out of Common Core completely. Bobby Jindal in Louisiana wants to pull out of Common Core. There is a giant Common Core backlash, which is making a lot more noise today than the Common Core sign-up that was kind of done under the radar back a few years ago, around 2010, 2011.
All right, Bob, stay with us here because Bob Bowdon stays with us after the break. We dive into what needs to be done in order to fix what has become an incredible controversy and an incredible mess. And at 43 minutes after the hour, we check all the latest numbers as America heads for the ballot box. And don't forget, our coverage begins at 7 o'clock this evening in the midterms, right here